And good evening. Yeah, it is evening out there. I'm looking out the window, and the sun is already going down. It's getting earlier every day. Every day. Hey, folks, my name is Professor Richard Dietering. I am a professor of archaeology, a doctor of archaeology, and I have been really interested in dealing with archaeology in Michigan that has been ignored. Uh, and a lot of that is because, well, you have the mainstream archaeologists that are afraid to move beyond what they have been calling their bread and butter for so long. And I, on the other hand, don't make my living by repeating somebody else's story. I make my living by finding the truth and trying to dig it in deep. And tonight we have a very special show because we're going to be talking to a gentleman who was out agate hunting or Petoskey stone hunting. He was out stone hunting on the shores of Michigan. And he thought he found something very unique as far as the decoration on the stone. And then, boy, was he right. It is extremely unique. Joining me is my assistant. She's been my assistant from day one when we started this project. It's Alyssa. If I call her Ellison, it's a private joke. So,
Thanks, Rick.
It's Alyssa. So, on the line with us, we're going through teams today. On the line with us is Charlie MacIntosh, and let me bring him up. How you doing, Charlie?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh,
Rick and Alyssa.
yeah.
Allison.
Yeah, I'm going to get you calling her Ellison too. Don't, because an Ellison can get you in trouble. I'm just telling you.
Okay, I'll watch it from now on.
Right. So let's start out a little bit, because later on in this vlog, we are going to be bringing up some pictures of the stone and some that we have taken. And we'll post them on the website in the messages also. The pictures of the stone. Alyssa first found this on the website.
I was Backwoods, Michigan website. Was doing some research myself on just artifacts found in the area. Found out that it happened to be over at Charlie's Nama Inn. They're in up north Michigan. Reached out to Charlie. Took us a couple of months to get in touch with each other. Definitely played quite a bit of phone tag getting in touch with each other, but we were finally able to meet with Charlie a couple of months back.
What's the name of his establishment again? I want to make sure it's clear, so when I send him the bill, we know that. Just
Can I
teasing.
say it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the Nama Inn.
The Nama Inn. Thank you,
The Nama
Charlie.
Inn. And Nama means sturgeon in Ojibwe Indian.
Okay.
It's the Sturgeon River runs through town.
You know, I'm glad you brought up the Ojibwe, because the Ojibwe are the Aboriginal people of definitely the UP, right? That's the tribe that would have been up there for centuries, right?
Yep.
And they have a very neat oral tradition that they were visited in ancient times by another people. And which is really interesting to me. Matter of fact, most of the Aboriginal tribes have a similar type oral tradition, that they were visited by other people. And yet, just to clarify that back in 1889, there was a family called the Smithson family who donated money to the American government, about 1,000 bags of gold, to start what was called the Bureau of Ethnology. They also started a museum that, well, it's not, a very popular museum. Most of you probably have never heard of the Smithsonian, but they started that one too. And part of the Bureau of Ethnology is they put out a statement in their journal, and the statement was that any sign of travel from over the Atlantic before Columbus was to be disregarded and called a forgery or fake immediately, without investigation, mind you. And most of it was more for political reasons, to try to protect the tribes from being, well, pushed out of their own country. In theory, the reasoning was good-hearted, but that meant that science had to be ignored.
Now, Rick, you say this started in 1886. You said
1889.
1889. Has this this changed within their society?
No, it
Or
hasn't.
within their
Matter
rules?
not. You and I went up to Newberry to
Right.
look at the the Newberry, the remnants of some of the Newberry tablets. Some was in St. Ignace, which will be back up in St. Ignace
Back in September.
in September.
Oh.
But then we went to Newberry, and they had a document there which was really interesting. It was from the Smithsonian, and it says, "We don't recognize the language, therefore we're calling it a fraud immediately." And they called it a fraud in writing back in 1890.
Yes, they did.
And then we found out that the language was not that unknown. With time, we found out it was a blend of what's called Linear A and Linear B, which I study, and the Hittite language. These are all languages that I'm familiar with.
Correct.
And then when we went in and visited, there's some writing. Charlie, you'd love this. We walked in, and they're getting ready to move the stone from the old museum where it was at. And part of the stone was laying on its side. And I walk in, and I said, "Well, what did they say about that writing across the top of that stone? It's part of the Newberry tablet." And I said, "What writing?" And I went and showed it, and she says, "That's writing?" And I go, "Yes, it is. It's Proto-Hebrew." And it basically comes out to say in English, translating the sea. And now the stone was, of course, facing with the idols that were dug to the east. That'd be a directional stone. But it was written in Proto-Hebrew on the top of it, just scraped away on the stone with some tool. But yeah, unfortunately, because no one has talked about or did anything with the language on the top of that stone.
Before right now, that has never been recorded.
It's never been recorded, so it loses. When it went on there, we have a problem with situ. When did it go on? Who put it on? And everything else like that. The fact that no one ever talked about it tells me that no one tried to forgery it and make a thing out of it. But with that being said, all across the country, we're finding stuff that carries with it either stuff from the Minoans, such as the what do I look for in every site when we go to? The labyrinth, right?
Yes. A wonderful labyrinth. Just like the old stories of, the Minotaur and finding your way through the labyrinth.
We find them all over. Yeah, so we got art from the Minoan background, but we also find stuff like up in Newberry. We got the Linear A and Linear B, but we had the Proto-Hebrew on it. We had the Bat Cave Stone or Bat Creek Stone down in Tennessee. We have a bunch of stuff going on in New Hampshire, or all along New England coastline, all along New England coastline, from different societies that not all of them were seafaring people, which everyone is saying, well, it can't be real because they weren't seafaring. Until you look at the Minoans, who were famous for their trade. They traded with everyone. They traded with the Egyptians. They traded with the Minoans. They traded with the Hittites. They traded with the Canaanites. They traded with everyone, the Scottish.
But Rick, we also have to bring up the fact of the Minoans don't leave their area anymore. That they're at least are assumed to believe that they don't leave their area.
Oh, I'm going to cover that in a second here. But thank you. Thank you for just blowing that out of the water before I could even get to it. So, but because they traded, one of the things that they would trade with is bond servants. If they had a bond servant that would be, let's say, got 5 years left on the contract, they'd say, we'll give you this bond servant. You give us 500 pounds of bronze or 5 pounds of bronze, because bronze was actually, and copper was considered more valuable to the Egyptians than gold. That whole area it was. So they were trading with the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Scottish, and all these other different tribes and all these other people. And one of the things they were getting was laborers. And those laborers, even though they came over with the Minoans, would have kept their traditions. They would have kept their idols, their writing, and everything else, which is why I believe we're seeing so many different types of, at the same time period, right around 3000 to 1500 BC, all these different people. And Charlie, what you found on yours was Egyptian. I am sure of that. And I want to thank you. You came from the UP down to Southeast Michigan to bring me that stone so we could take some very close-up pictures of it. And folks, I will be putting, if I don't get it to it today, I will be putting them up in the messages on this website.
Yes, they'll be posted in the comments within this evening. As well as I will be having them posted on our Facebook page. I'm going to make a shameless plug for us there at the Michigan Archaeologist on Facebook. And definitely check us out over there. Like our page. We share a lot of, what trips we have going on, what events we have coming up, and all of that kind of stuff. But Charlie, I want to hear from you just a minute here. Tell me a little bit about your story about finding this. You were agate hunting, correct?
Yeah, I was up in the Copper Harbor. I'm up from Lake Linden, up in guts of the copper country up there in the Keweenaw Peninsula. And just doing my stuff. I like treasure hunting. I like poking around and looking for agates is one of the things I like doing, you know. And so I was dry picking. I was up on the bank, dry picking offshore a little bit. And just always, if I see something that looked like a fossil or something, I'd chalk it in my pocket. I was looking at my rocks when I get home, you know. And when I look at this one, it was well, this was back in the 80s, I think. I don't remember when I found it, but I had it for a long time. But this one looked different. I started looking at it, and I looked at it, and I could see all the drawings on it, and so that's when I found out it was something very serious, something real deal, and I wasn't sure if it was connected with the copper culture or not. But I've always hung on to it, and it's I've got some pretty good mileage out of it. You know, just like
I can imagine.
With all the stories and the showing it and stuff like that. But yeah, surprised I still got it, but kept on to it. I took it to a couple of ancient American artifact preservation society national conventions, and I've got it exposed to that a lot through all the professors and archaeologists that were there. So I got grilled pretty good with it on this, but I was really, really excited to bring it down, to bring it to Monroe, to really have you get eyes on it, because it sure, you know, when I first talked with you, it sure sounded like you knew what you're talking about, because I know nothing. And well, the information you came up with blew my mind. So this is really cool. I'm really excited about it.
I'm going to share real quick here. I'm going to just share some pictures of here. And folks, you're going to see some red and blue markings on it. This is stuff that we did through our Facebook to outline different things on it. So let me bring up that and see. Okay.
Hey, Rick, in the meantime, I got some buddies that are watching this that probably you got to explain what labyrinth is.
A labyrinth?
Yeah.
Hello. Think of a maze. Think of a maze with a lot of turns and everything else, but there's only one way in and one way out.
Well,
literally. It's just a lot of spiraling things. A lot of hospitals put them up now, just for you to meditate as you walk through them. You know, you start out at the outside and you walk through it and you meditate. Back when the first labyrinth came in, is you'd walk through it and you'd meditate until you'd run across the Minotaur and you'd rip your head off and kill you. Well, that was the myth, but that the labyrinth became very important within the Minoan culture, and bulls became very important within the Minoan culture. We'll be talking about that in another show as we talk about another tribe called the Mandan tribe. But we have more important stuff to discuss, and I want to show. I'm going to just bring up this stone here real quick. This is the stone that we found, and if you look on that, on the upper point, you'll see which looks like a round disc with arch on it, and then next to it you'll see a green circle with two little fires and then like a figure standing in the middle. That right there is a pictograph, and it was a very common pictograph going back to pre-dynastic Egypt, and it was of a specific goddess, and we have a statue of that goddess with us today. That we found in the Sinai Peninsula. And this is the statue of Sekhmet. She was the goddess of war, chaos. She was one time going to destroy all of mankind. So one of the head gods got her drunk on beer and calmed her down a bit. And so she didn't destroy them all. But she ended up becoming a very important goddess, in which that she was the go-to goddess. If you didn't want her to make her angry, because, well, she liked killing. So you kept her happy first, then the other gods. So this is Sekhmet, and that pictograph in the center of, or at that top with the blue drawing on it that I showed you, is of Sekhmet. Now, just below her, if you look real closely, it's a spider emblem, and that would have been the goddess Neith. And the goddess Neith was known to have created created everything, the universe. And she was known as the weaver of the universe, which is now why she's also the goddess of spiders. On the flip side of the stone, which you can now see, if you look at the upper,
I can't see the stone.
Okay,
The
yeah, it's going up on the thing, so you'll see it. So, but it is going up. But on the upper left side of that picture, above what looks like a crescent moon with a circle in it, above it, that's a pictograph of the god Thoth, who was the god of the moon. He was also god of travel, and very precious. Now, below that crescent with a circle in it, most of the gods that we are talking about actually wore that above their head. But going back to, and then on the other side of that, something really interesting. There are some symbols that we have not been able to distinguish, but there's one symbol that no one had ever talked to until you brought that coin or brought that stone to me, and we got some real close-up photographs of it. And I'm willing to bet you can't unsee it now when you look at the stone. But there's a picture of hieroglyph. And this is what tells me, because they're going from pictograph to hieroglyphs. And this is right at about the period of the pre-dynastic going into the early dynasties. And it's the very first of the alphabet of the
Rick,
Egyptian
what time
hieroglyphs.
frame is that? BC?
Right around 3000 BC.
Okay.
Okay, between 3000 to about 2500 BC, which is right within the time limit that we've been looking at with the Minoans coming over, all the way up to 1500 BC. But back on the front side of that stone that we looked at, where you got Sekhmet and you got Nath, and then below that you've got the Eye of Horus, or some will say the Eye of Ra, but it's the Eye of Horus, is another god, and he was the all-knowing, protecting type of god and everything else. And it's all laid in. If you can basically see a little bit of it, of an oval shaped item with straight sides. We call that a cartouche. And that is only dedicated for that of royalty and gods. All right. And so that's another reason that tells me that these are gods in here, because it's not speaking to any specific pharaoh, but it is speaking to deities. So what I firmly believe that we have here, Charlie, and that what you found is Egyptian. Now, we did get some very close-up pictures of this. None of the engravings look like they were done with a tool like a Dremel tool or anything like that. But what I find fascinating about this is the size of the stone, with because it's definitely been old-fashioned ground, is from what I can tell. So I don't think anybody just lost this on the beach. I think this has been on the beach for a long time. It's very much worn. Is very much worn by weather and water. And which is why we had to get the extreme close-ups using the cameras we used. And I think this is also going to speak to the fact that we had travelers here in Michigan. I mean, there's going to be the discussion coming up through these vlogs and everything else about the almost 1 billion pounds of copper missing from the mines in Michigan.
Now, I know previously that was only estimated to be 500.
Yeah,
million.
they raised that up, and it wasn't me; it was geologists that raised that number up to 1 billion. I was shocked.
That was just recently done within the last year, correct?
Yes, that they're now saying it was almost 1 billion pounds of copper.
So, in comparison, how much manpower would that take?
To back when they were talking that it was 500.
When they were saying 500 million.
500 million. It would have taken more man hours to mine that than it would have taken to build the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Oh, wow.
Technically speaking, because of how long it took, our Isle Royale should be in the list of the 7 wonders of the world. It really should. It's remarkable. And it wasn't just picked up off the beach type copper. This was copper that was mined. We find burn pits where early form of smelting happened. And something really interesting about Michigan copper, it's the purest copper you're going to find in the world. It's literally the purest copper. And very recently, they found a ship off Turkey and some of the copper on it met the purity levels of Michigan copper. Now the naysayers, and there's a piece of Michigan copper being held up by Charlie. Thanks. The naysayers are saying, well, some of the copper had enough lead in it to be from Cyprus, and they're right. But you have to remember the Minoans were traders, so they traded with the people in Cyprus, which was actually one of the Minoan islands, but they also had copper on there that did not match Cyprus copper, and that was the really pure stuff. And they can't explain where it came from because the only copper you can find like that is in Michigan. And the argument then became, as Alyssa alluded to earlier, well, it couldn't have been from there because the Minoans never left the coastline when they sailed. Well, that's been disproven now. They've found just recently an ancient ship off in deep water, in the Mediterranean, in deep water, away from the coast.
Off the coast of Turkey.
No, off the coast. That one came off the coast of Israel.
Israel,
about 90 miles. And it was found by people with an oil rig. The water was so deep there. And the ship went down. Everything of the shape of the product that was in the hold, because the ship is gone. It was all wood. The only thing left is the pottery and stuff it carried. But the shape of it is that of a Minoan ship, of the cargo hold material. So they were definitely going off. Plus, you can go back to some of the ancient Greek writers, such as Suetonius and such as Plato and stuff, who have written about traveling outside of the Mediterranean and outside of the gates of Hercules and over to Scotland.
Now, if they want to find, within this writing, I mean, obviously Plato's a very, very popular writer.
You got to keep your mouth aimed at the microphone.
I apologize. Obviously, Plato's a very, very famous writer here. Where can we find, his writing?
His writing is mostly the ones that are going to interest us the most is the writings that he has on what we call Atlantis. In his writing, he referred to it as Atlas, which is, by the way, where we get our term of maps and stuff is Atlas, but we call it Atlantis. And the ancient writers literally had them going outside into the Atlantic and then traveling up to Scotland to boot. And if you look at that, all along the way, they're using landmarkers as ways to travel. And some of those landmarkers would be such as the Stonehenge that is in England, just outside of London.
Yeah.
And then the one up in Scotland, which is way out of London because it's way on the north side of the island. And then you can follow around and you can find marks like that. And over in Salem, New Hampshire. Everything.
For anyone that is unaware, on Salem, New Hampshire, they have something called
Stonehenge, USA.
Stonehenge, USA.
And so, and then we have down at, and we're going to spend a lot of time on another show talking about this. We have down in Atlanta or Alabama. They found a stone that's used for navigation.
We had someone post in the comments here, Jared. He believed that copper from Isle Royale had been proven to be used in the Roman and Bronze Age.
Well, it's I believe it has been. Here's the problem, Jared. After it's been smelted and formed into the actual bronze, it's hard to do a chemical analysis. You got to get the raw material to do it. And what we have from there is the stuff found on the ship just outside of Turkey, with some of that copper being the rough copper before it was smelted, meets the purity level of Isle Royale. There is a very good chance, I'm telling you, that we see that they've been mining that copper for over 1,000 years. So it's a safe bet that someone's used in the Bronze Age. I say the early, mid, and late Bronze Ages. It was the Minoans that started it, and they're the ones that traded all the bronze. They're the ones that brought it all up. They've been trading since before 3000 BC. It's very, very likely that all the lands around there has Michigan copper. And if you're into the Bible and you take a look at the idea of the Exodus, where when all the slaves went, they took the treasures of Rome with them. One of those treasures, because they valued bronze and copper more than they valued gold, which is amazing.
Right.
I'll trade you all the copper pennies I have in equal weight for all the gold you have. Is that a deal, Charlie?
Nope.
I heard yep. Is that what you heard? I heard yep. But
I got copper.
but there you go. As they left, they took all the temple treasure, which would have included a lot of copper. And if my thesis is correct, that would have gone out. And then you got in Numbers, you've got the account of the bronze serpent. That probably would have been copper that would have been brought out of Egypt. Probably traded with the Minoans, that because Egypt did not travel to trade. The people who did trading would go to them. And we know that was the Minoans. So good chance that some of that copper that came out of there was from Michigan.
Absolutely.
And so, Jared, I think you're right. I don't think we can say that it's proven. I don't like throwing the word proof out there until I can actually say it's proof.
And Jared, if you would feel free to message me on our Facebook page and send over the information that you found. I'd be happy to take an even further look into it.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. If he's got information that does tie some of the Michigan copper to other Bronze Age nations, I believe we're going to find that it's attached to all the areas within the Mediterranean and within Europe. For example, Dr. O'Shea out of University of Michigan did a huge study on a burial site up in Hungary, which is not a coastal area. And yet they had a ton of bronze. Where are they getting it from? They were trading with the Minoans. So, but with that, they also brought with them, and I want to get back to Charlie here. They also brought with them people from Egypt. Again, that was part of the trade. I know you were excited when you came down to show me the stone. And as I went through and explaining what each part was and why it was designed the way it was, like in the oval cartouche shape, and what the goddess Nath represented, the goddess of creation. Of course, if they're going to travel across the ocean, they're going to want that goddess on her side, right? And the goddess Sekhmet and the goddess Thoth. Hold on here. I always got to do this. I need to get a penny for my Thoth. There you go. It's 10 pennies. So, and he always takes it. It disappears almost immediately. I don't know how that happens. When you found it, you knew it was something. Now, having been up there, you probably originally thought it was probably something just Aboriginal, right?
Yeah, I definitely did. I didn't do a whole lot of research for quite a few years on it. Well, I really didn't do any research on it. I found out, but I thought it was basically native. I really did, and I knew it had something to do maybe with the copper. I could see Manitou Island from where I found it, so I'm sure that there's open pits out there too. I know, and it's there. I thought my vision is they were shoving off to the island and lost it into shoving off to the island, I guess. But but I did. I was kind of fortunate. It's kind of weird in a way. So I did take it to an Ancient American Preservation Artifact Society quite a few years back, and I was just bringing it up there. My sister Donna knows Judy Johnson really good from the group, and she took time out to take some pictures of it to send it to her.
Mm-hmm.
I know Edith was another lady involved with it. And lo and behold to me, that night at the Nama Inn, there's this guy sitting at the end of the bar drinking a pint of beer and got a hair and a ponytail, wearing glasses, your stereotypical Indiana Jones kind of dude, And it's just like, he told me he collects pre-Columbian art for museums throughout the world. He used to. And I said, hey, I got something I want you to look at. And the first thing he said when I showed it to him was, wow, what a cool amulet. Where'd you find this? This was his take on it. And I said, hey, I was picking agates up in the QAnon. I found it, thought it was fossil. And he goes, wow, this is This is an amulet. It's
It
from the
is.
copper culture. I know it is. Yeah. So Robert Duff, he was spot on. I thought so from what I'm hearing all about it. But anyway, I get enough of these notes. Okay, I'm just writing notes because I got this thing to go to the next day with my sister Donna, and it's like so I'm taking notes of all this rock. He's like, oh, there's this, there's that, and I go, okay, cool. Well, I just thought I'd bring it up to all the archaeologists and professors to tell me what it is. Little alone do I know that I got a half-hour presentation with a red laser PowerPoint. I got to bullshit everybody, and it's like I did a good job bullshitting because after I got done, it's like, hey, okay, I'm done. You got any questions? And it's like everybody had questions. Like I had the answers for it. Really, I think I made some of the stuff up anyway, just to pass the time go by. But it worked out really good. But after the dust settles, there was this one lady. She was standing there waiting for the crowd to peel out, and she was standing, pretty big lady. She had her arms crossed, standing there like that, and she goes to me, "You think you're lucky you found that?" And I said, "Yeah, I was just picking agates, and I found it. I was dry picking about 50 feet offshore, and found it, and I thought it was possible." And she goes, "No, you're the chosen one." That's what so I'm the chosen one. And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" She goes, "Well, I want you to do is I'm supposed to go back and do a ceremony for 2 hours, lay in the high of the sun, clear my mind. I don't know if I was supposed to take some pill or smoke some dope or whatever. I didn't do nothing, but it's just, I went up there and no, I didn't go up there, but my sister Donna wanted to go and do it with me. I said, but anyway, I said, okay, so I got to keep this water. She wants me to send her some of the water. Can't touch it. And I said, she wanted me to start doing eye drops of it a day, and I'm gonna notice a big difference. So I asked her what the difference is gonna be. She goes, "I don't know, but it's a big difference." So I never did it. Well, it's out there.
Let me tell you is I would disagree with her on the chosen one only because the way that no, and
come on, Rick, you hung out with me enough.
Yeah, which is another reason, but. But no, in all seriousness, is anyone who's ever found or tried to bring an artifact forward, they have been immediately criticized and taken down in the press. And now I appreciate you because you understand you don't know what you have. And so I can take that heat, and I'm willing to take that heat. And I've already taken it. I'll tell you a story about when we went out east about how quickly I got the heat thrown at me. But as soon as someone comes up and breaks the traditional archaeological view, they're called crazy. They're called conspiracy theorists. They're called forgeries. They're called liars. They're called any number of stuff. And people can, some people like the one out in Minnesota with the Viking stone. It ruined his family.
Oh wow!
It's. Then and a lot of this has to do because there were frauds in Michigan, and I'm not going to deny that there were frauds. They were all downstate. They were all by an ex-politician who was an ex-secretary of state of Michigan. He was a con man. He got together with another con man and Stratford and Stouffer, and they were selling these forgeries back in the 1890s, which is one of the reasons why the Smithson family wanted to say anything that came over shows that it came over had to be a fraud because of those two men. But my argument is if you have even one real artifact, that has to be answered. If you got one piece of proof, that has to be answered. And there is no conspiracy markers on this stone to say that it's a forgery or a fraud. We contacted you. You didn't contact us. You didn't try to sell it to the Smithsonian for billions of dollars. You didn't try to profit off of it. You found a stone and you said, "This is neat. What is it?" So the markers aren't there of a forgery. And then I had the privilege of getting a macro lens on this and some very, very, very strong close-ups. Ones that if I showed it on the show, it wouldn't look like anything to anyone except me. but yeah, it's unfortunately, I asked a question, Charlie, you find this interesting. I asked a question to AI on Microsoft AI, and I said, why do most of the European, African, Asian archaeologists recognize pre-Columbian travel across the Atlantic, but the Americans don't? The answer was because of politics.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
because of
yeah.
politics. Um,
Oh.
it's a real attempt. And again, I've been involved with Aboriginal people my whole life. My father was involved with them. I adore the people. If you ask me, they were treated awfully, rotten, cruelly. Nothing good. White man did nothing good for the Aboriginal people. I'm just saying that. But it doesn't mean we should neglect looking at evidence. Again, all their traditions say that they were visited long time ago. So I'm actually trying to prove their heritage. I'm trying to prove their stories. I'm trying to back it up. And by the way, the Minoans weren't white. So I'm not trying to turn America white. The Minoans well, they still are. The Cretans and the Mycenaeans were referred to as burgundy skinned. We have a different name for burgundy here in this country. But it's fact we had travelers coming over is nothing to be ashamed of. But a lot of people who come forward with anything that represents travel across the Mediterranean, they're mocked. Canada recognizes the Vikings coming over. They got a whole island that's a national park, Canadian National Park off of Nova Scotia, dedicated to the Vikings for coming over. And yet, the archaeologists in America, well, most of them will deny it. It's politics. And I hate the fact that politics gets involved with science. And I hate even more that people that try to come forward honestly and just say, this is what we've got, are beat up for it. But I appreciate the fact that you admit you didn't know what you had.
No. But I sat on it for many, many years, and it finally getting it out there. Thanks to you, Rick. It's just it's just that Alyssa just you motivated me on it again. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can do with it, but it's just like
I actually want to talk to you, and I'm not asking for a commitment now, and I don't want you to give me a commitment now, but I do want to talk to you. We're going up and doing a couple of lectures on the East Coast. I would love to borrow your stone from you, but something we can talk about, just so I can make it part of the lecture. If not, I will make giant pictures of this little tiny stone. It's not that big. You take 2 dimes and set them side to side, and that's the size of the stone. It's remarkably small. And this is another reason why I know it's an amulet, because this is what the travelers back then would carry, is an amulet with their gods on it that they'd carry for good luck and for their travels and to get home safely. So when someone said, "Oh, nice amulet,"
like you said on the edge of it, there's a line or something scribed on it that.
Yeah, you've got everything you need to make the cartouche out of it, and then you also
pull up the picture here so everyone can see kind of what we're talking about.
Okay. So on it, you have this white line that cuts through, and first of all, that's another sign of part of the design. If you can look at the top picture and the bottom picture.
Charlie, just so you have this, I'm going to send this over to you now, what we're looking at, so you can take a look as well.
So you can see the line on the back side going around, outlining the back of the stone on the bottom. That's the one that has the image of Thoth and the moon, and with the crescent-shaped moon with the other moon sitting on top of it. And I'll tell you, there are emblems on here. I'm not sure because they're so worn what they are. Some of them do look very much like other hieroglyphs. But again, I can speak to the eagle because that is so identical to the eagle. But there's a lot on this stone. More than the stone itself. On the back side, that line makes the whole stone with the gods and the moon emblem and crescent. That makes itself its own cartouche on the back. Then you have the center cartouche on the front one. If you're looking at both pictures, it'll be the upper stone. And you can see as you get towards the top of that picture, it starts circling around the top, and then as it comes down, it circles around on the bottom, then a straight line, that white line underneath it completes the line underneath, and that line underneath speaks to the royalty or the godship. Is that what you're talking about on the lines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of lines on there and they all mean something. So
Well, you seen it right away. You said it was like for royalty.
yes. Royalty
Yes.
or gods.
Yep.
And here's the thing is when I first looked at it and I said this is a cartouche and I had to get a good look on it because there are two main primary civilizations that use the cartouche at that, well, in the BC area. One is Egyptian, but I was thinking, well, this is pictographs. So it might not be Egyptian. It might actually be Assyrian. But as I started looking at the pictographs, no, these are Egyptian gods that it's dedicating to.
Great. Oh. So Rick, when you first looked at this, when you first seen it, you've seen it online, the pictures online and stuff like that, and then when you got it in hand and looked at it, the first thing you said is, "I knew it." And then what made you say, "I knew it," and what made you think of what you thought?
Well, let me go through my thought process first, because when she first brought it to me and I looked at it, I said, okay, well,
Fraud.
No, I never thought fraud. I thought what you probably thought. I thought Aboriginal. Okay. Which is still okay because the Aboriginal stuff can also tell me what they did as far as meeting with other people, right? So I don't discount something just because I'm not going to discount it just because it is Aboriginal. I'm going to take it for what it's worth and take that, which is a lot, but that tells me a different story. But then as I started looking at it, and before you even came down, I started trying to blow up some of the pictures as best I could. And as I told you, it wasn't really good enough, but it gave me some story. That this was a cartouche on the front side that was definitely the first one that stood out was not Sekhmet. The first one that stood out to me was Nath, the spider goddess or goddess of creation. And I then realized that the symbol above it, if that's Nath, the only other goddess that people would have gone to before Nath on this would have been Sekhmet. She's a goddess you don't want to tick off. I'm just saying you don't. All right. Her first, right? And then the other gods. I mean, Nath, she created the universe. She loves mankind, everything else. She's not going to destroy you because you didn't go to her first. But then you have the Eye of Horus. And if you really look at that real close, it's very much like the Eye of Horus that I wear on my wrist. It's kind of like the all-seeing eye that we think of a lot in American culture and everything else is carried through. You got to ask yourself how it's carried through all these different civilizations for so many years. Right. It's called the fusionism. It's where one culture influences another culture. And so, by the way, the American archaeologists disagree with the fusionism, meaning they disagree with one culture being able to affect another culture. And they get into what they call simultaneous invention, where everything in the world happens by coincidence. That at the same time, the Minoans come up with the labyrinth, and so did the Mandan tribe, and so did the Mississippian people, and so did this group, and so did this, all at the same time for no reason. Same with the Hamza hand and other things. Just one symbol after another, after another. It's not just one. It's just tons of artistic symbols, which speak to something, mostly religious stuff. And so Alyssa thinks that people want to see you more than the stones. So I'll put you back on. But when I saw the stone, and when I did it, I said, I really think this is what it is, but now I have to see it. So I got in touch with Alyssa, and I said, why don't we see if we can't make contact with you, and maybe go up there. And then you told her you are a Red Wings fan, and you were coming down for a game. And I said, perfect, because I don't want to drive that far. I would have.
Yeah, but I could have made a few bucks off you at the end,
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it worked out great, Rick. It worked out great.
And when you brought it in, and I want to talk about that because Alyssa yelled at me after that meeting. I just want you to know. So I saw it, and it was everything. As I got it underneath the camera, it was everything that I was seeing. And what jumped out at me was that other hieroglyph that, again, it's been around, and I've gone through, and now I've blown up pictures, and it's there. You can't unsee it once you see it. And I saw that. I said, this is definitely Egyptian. It's a mixture of pictographs and a mixture of hieroglyphs. It's got both. So it's a really old. So when I saw it, yeah, I said, I knew it. That was my reaction. I knew it.
I remember that reaction.
And I got in trouble because a man who I very much respect came with you. I won't say his name. If you want to, that's fine. I won't say his name. I very much respected, but he had somebody else tell him that the cartouche, and he referred to it as a cartouche, but then he started giving it medieval discussion to it. And I said, no, the medieval cartouche is long gone. It's not medieval. And Alyssa said, I came on too strong. And by the way, I can. And she said, you sounded like two old men arguing.
This fellow you're speaking of was a great friend of mine.
He's a wonderful man.
He loved it. He loved it, Rick. He loved it. He loves to be
I respect him.
And it worked out great.
And, you know, he contacted me after, and he says, you know, what you said all of a sudden made sense, what you were trying to say. And I said, I'm sorry. I know I can come across strong, and it's not that I'm trying to be mean. And he was actually really nice. But I'm a typical.
You should have seen us two go at it a few times.
But
Charlie, I'm sitting there, you know, taking pictures in the background, getting all the macros and the micro shots of it, and all I can hear is, you know, Rick going on and on. And I mean, he goes on and on with me, and we talk about stuff all the time, especially on our long car trips to the east. But
it was great.
You know, I had to give him a little bit of crap for coming on.
A little bit
too
of chin
strong.
music.
Right, right.
So yeah, she told me I was very
Not
rude, and so you tell him I'm sorry that Alyssa thought I was very rude.
He was over it as soon as we had that first glass of wine.
There you go. Merlot?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell it was. Red. It was red, yeah. Yeah. We had to stop and have a lunch and a glass of wine after that.
Well,
no, he loved it. He thought it was great. I did, and I learned so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you've got a treasure there. I mean, you know, it's probably financially isn't worth $1 billion, probably a couple hundred, but what you got there is much more important than money. You've got a piece of history that takes and answers some questions about Michigan that everyone has been ignoring. You know, and Michigan's got a great history. And I think what we need to do, and this is why I call myself the Michigan archaeologist, I think that there's enough out there that can show how valuable Michigan is to this world when you look at it historically. If my thesis is correct, Michigan pretty much kept the Bronze Age alive, especially if we go to the fact that there was a huge volcanic eruption in the Mediterranean, which cut off all copper dealings within the Mediterranean because while you had 300-foot tsunamis hitting the islands where they were mining copper, when the island of Thera went up. So the only copper left was to come back and mine, which is why at that point, around 1100, by about 1177 AD, the Bronze Age was coming to an end because they just could not get enough copper. They only had one source of copper is what we're finding. And guess what? I think that one source of copper was just a long way away to cross the Atlantic through the waters that, and by the way, it was not just the St. Louis, the waterways looked a lot different back then than they do now.
Right.
So they had a direct route. We also find really interesting. We find a lot of the Minoan type pottery and bronze copper stuff all the way from Louisiana up the Mississippi Valley into the Great Lakes, that route. So they had more than one. They found what there's an argument on whether it where the axe head came from is all BC, but they found an axe head with a bull's head on it down in South America that goes way back ancient BC. I'm saying because of the Minoan love for the bull, and my love for the bull, so they found this bull's axe head in South America, which is probably Minoan. So they were trading not just all over Europe and all over the Mediterranean and all over the ancient Near East. They were trading in the Americas, across the Americas too, which is also why some of the artwork in the South America and in the Mediterranean looks so similar.
Oh, yeah.
And you got a piece of that proof.
I know it. And it's pretty amazing if you guys to know I have that and to prove that. And I don't want to get it. It's real. I know it's authentic. I know I found it. I know where I found it, where it showed up, and I've had it for so many years, and I never exposed it really.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, like I said, I got it underneath the macroscope. The next thing I would do if I got my hands on it is I'd get it under a microscope. But the macroscope usually can tell me how it was carved. And I'm coming out just saying that these are legitimate carvings, and the way they're worn, they've been worn for a long time. Some are worn right off. So longer than what you would have had it for,
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Rick, what would they use to carve that? I mean, it's a piece of basalt, which is so hard.
Yeah, well, they could have used copper to scratch away at it. Other stones, you scratch away, scratch away, scratch away, scratch away. You have to remember that this is an amulet. So it was designed to wear well. And when I mean wear well is that they'd take it out if they're praying and they'd rub it with their hands, right? So you wouldn't want to use sandstone because it'd crumble in a week in their hand, right? So they'd go with a harder stone, and that way they could carry it. And they carved it sometimes with just other stone chisels, sometimes just scratch stone like this. They would have just scratched away with a smaller rock at it and worked it.
Now, Rick, I got to ask, how would someone, during that time period have carried this? Would they have worn this as a necklace? Would they have carried it in a satchel? How would this have gone?
Yeah, I got to keep pointing. Sorry about it. I got to keep pointing at mics are very funny, as you got to kind of like swallow them as you talk. And if you turn your head or take your head away, it cuts off. And so a lot of times this would be carried in a satchel or a small bag tied around the waist or around the neck. Some amulets, if you had good money, would be set in gold or something like that and worn as jewelry around the neck. Smaller amulets could have been put in a ring. This one was probably carried in a satchel, a little leather bag that was tied around and carried on the waist.
Okay.
And because of that, they would get lost very easy also. And then 3,000 years later, somebody picks it up and thinks it's a fossil.
Untrained fella, untrained youper. We're gonna be up in that part of the neck of the woods this weekend. Going up there.
I envy you. I'm going to be going up there.
We're going to find some more stones.
Yeah, I'm going to be going up there looking for Euperlite here in a while, just because my kid wants some. So.
Well, you'll let me know when you come up, right?
I will. I got to make it. I got to make it to a certain inn.
So. Yeah, and we got to find you a piece of native Euper copper too, eh?
Yeah, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Hey, it's You've had a lot of stories about people you talk to on this stone, and I'm just one of them. And I am just one point of view. I know my view is right because, well, I'm that kind of person. But I know my view is right. But I know you've talked to other people and they've had other opinions, and I'm sure some of them made sense to you and some of them didn't. What are some of the more fun stories you have as far as?
Nothing really so much. I talked to, that first night when I was bringing it up to the national convention to Bob Duff. He was pretty spot on with what you were. When I brought it up to the convention, I was on me kind of, it was just like, but most of the people agreed that it was pre-Columbian and it was part of the copper culture. and it was from the Mediterranean or Egypt or somewhere over there, from the copper culture era. And did you know Fred Reinholm at all?
I've got his book.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but
so,
I have a couple copies of his book. By the way,
okay, so is that?
I suggest people go out and buy
Judy?
copies of it. It's only $600-700 a copy.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff packed in there. But
Yep.
Fred's daughter Judy, she's the one involved in the National AARP, Ancient American Preservation Society.
Yeah.
She's on that board of directors and stuff, and so I got to know her, and she really supports all this. She really does.
Oh, well, we're going to be looking for a lot of support coming up, because this is something else I wanted to talk to you about before we cut off here. We went up to Newberry, and we went out to where they found the Newberry tablet. They showed us on the map where the lot was, and we went out and looked at it. And I said, this would take us to do some cutting down of a lot of small saplings, because that's what was growing there. And there was some buildings around it. But when I started talking to them, because I wanted to set up a dig site up there, and the state has not been too easygoing for us to dig on state land, because we were told it was state land. Come to find out, it's not state land that we were told.
Yeah, we decided that. Yeah, I remember that we looked at that. I dropped the ball on that. Did you talk to the people?
No, because you were going to get us that information.
Right. Okay. I did not drop the ball. Thanks for the ass and kicking the ass here, because I'll get on that this week. Okay.
Yeah. And what I'm talking about is that Newberry tablet that I talked to you about earlier. There's some of it in St. Ignace. There's some of the tablet up in Newberry. There's a site there. When they found the stone, there was a big cry that needed to be excavated, and it needed to be searched more. And I mean, everyone was saying it needed to be looked at more. And there's a waterway right there for it. It's ideal. And because of the Bureau of Ethnology and the Smithsonian letters saying immediately, and they literally said, because this is not part of the Aboriginal culture that was in that area at the time, and we don't recognize the language, it is a fraud. And so no one ever did anything for hundreds of years, almost 200 years. And it needs to be dug up. It needs to be investigated. And so we were told and I got the idea from the gentleman and I could be wrong, and I'm going to say this now, but the gentleman I talked to at the museum up in Newberry, he tried to lean towards the idea that the stone wasn't real. And I said, well, I would like to take a look at some of the makeup of the clay and stuff, of everything else, the sandstone that was crushed up and used to it. Where did that come from? There's a lot of questions you just can't call fraud. And none of the analysis that they've done on that stone is stating that it couldn't be real. And is that it? Okay, that's up. So
this is unfortunately sideways.
It's sideways. So turn your head sideways, people, and read the letter. But it pretty much calls everything a fraud. And so nothing was dug up. I want to go up there and dig. And Charlie, you're going to be instrumental in making that happen.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because I don't want to just claim something to claim. I am willing to be proven wrong. I really am. But I think the next thing that we need to do to find out how legitimate that stone is to excavate that property. If we can get permission and we can get digging, I will raise the funds for a ground penetrating radar to go up there and search it all out. And somebody to go up there and cut down all the saplings that are up there, so we can start getting some reeds.
Now, Rick, we do have some questions in the live chat here. First off, Tim, thank you for letting us know that you absolutely love what we're doing here. But he's also asking, how do archaeologists determine the age of any findings, such as pottery and etc.?
Okay, well, pottery is kind of unique, because you can go back and say pottery was made in this way at this time. And so when you look at the style of the pottery, the design of the pottery, and it's pretty much universal. I can find commonalities, and again, this goes back to diffusionism. I can find commonalities between first century pottery in China and first century pottery in Egypt. There might be some of the painting, some of the designing, some of the artwork might be different, but the total outlet build of it is going to be similar in a lot of stuff. So you can age pottery that way. Another big thing of dating it is, again, we are looking at stuff that is within the realm of all the dating processes are all accurate for about 4,000 or 5,000 years. So when you do dating products of organic things, you know it's going to be pretty accurate up to about 5,000. It's about that 5,000-6,000 year mark where the dating processes all start falling apart because there's a lot of stuff they don't take into consideration. They try to keep everything static and moving at the same time, and it doesn't. That's another conversation for another day. But we can use carbon dating, or we can use some of the dating processes that will be accurate for up to about 6,000 years. So we can find out.
And now with this project and the materials that we're finding on this project, how many, I guess, what era are we finding everything from right now, and how far back is that to what we're looking at, today's age?
Most of the stuff that you and I are finding, for example, the housing out on the East Coast, we're finding a lot of, we're finding a lot of what's called theloi structures. A lot of people will call them beehive structures on the East Coast, and yet, or beehive graves or something like, but there's no bodies in them. They're more dwellings. And we're finding a lot of this theloi type structure, which is common with Minoan structures that would go back to 1500 to 3000 BC. A lot of people will age them to about 500 AD, but they'll send this material out to be tested, and it comes back 4,000 years old. We have one artifact where I tested it for navigational purposes. I did the math. And as I did the math, and Charlie, you're going to love this. There's this stone that's got notches all the way around it, and it's got different designs in it that connect different notches in the stone. And I connected it to the landscape where it was found, and found out that it would work as a navigational stone, but it was off about 9 degrees. No matter what I did, it was always off about 9 degrees. And I thought maybe the artist just didn't know what he's doing. But always off about 9 degrees. I went into the planetarium at the University of Michigan. I think you were with me that day.
Yeah, I was. We had went in and we went into the planetarium. We watched their show, and I took the guy that was running the show to the side, and I was like, hey, how far back does your system go? Are you able to show us what it would look like at a certain date? And sure enough, we pulled up his system, and I was able to
there's more to that story.
Oh, absolutely.
He says, yeah, I can go back. I said, good. Can you go back to 3000 BC? He says, no, I don't have AD or BC on this. I said, well, go back to negative 3000 then. So, and he kind of didn't expect us to see anything at all. But long story short, and there was conversations with professors and everything else, when they took it back, everything, including the North Star, moved to about 9 degrees.
Sure.
Off balance.
From the agonic line, it changed. It's constantly changing, very, very slow. It's called
the Earth wobble. And actually, one of the museums we went to I was surprised that they actually promoted the Earth wobble concept. It's like a top. When you spin it, the top gets to this wobble going on, but it's measurable. And no one on the TV just saw me wiggling my finger back and forth like a moving top. But so the Earth wobble can be calculated, and going back to the time where between 3000 and 2500 BC, it showed that stone to be a great navigational tool. And I then taking it and understanding that it lined up, I followed some of the lines using the land there, and one took me right to the Pyramid of Giza. I mean, right through it. One took me to Stonehenge, England. One took me to Stonehenge up in Scotland. One took me to New Hampshire. One took me to Isle Royale. All these little notches I told you about.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is now a navigational, it's a starting point on how to get from this point to that point in travel, and then get to the next point. And the same thing happens when you use the Stonehenges, whether it be we found out the one in New Hampshire, the one in Scotland, the one in England may have been used for religious purposes too, but it was also used for navigation. So, and the math doesn't lie, but they'll say it was that the argument is of the most of the archaeologists over here is it's coincidence. So, and you know what? I'm okay with them believing that. I am, because then I get to make them look foolish, and I enjoy that so much. So
you're spot on. I mean, it's just like I just love your mission, Ron. You too. I just love your mission.
Well, we appreciate it.
And I'm glad to be part of it.
Yes, and I want to make you a very much part of it, because when we start the dig, you're only 2 hours from how far are you from Newberry?
Hour 45.
An hour 45.
Yeah,
that's close enough for me to go and relax after a long day of digging.
Yeah, and close enough for me to come and help, huh?
Yeah. I'll take you up on that too. But we got to get with the property owners, and I do appreciate you you taking the lead on that for us, because
we'll get on it this week.
All right, appreciate it. I'll tell you what, folks, we've been on now for over an hour. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be on again next week. Next week, we're going to be talking more about that stone I just got done talking about down south. There's a lot to it, a ton of stuff to it, other than just navigation. There's a lot of stuff that represents Egyptian, Egyptian markings on it.
Egyptian markings, and just the navigational part of
the
it.
Navigational and everything else.
A little bit.
And so, and Charlie, I appreciate your time. I know we've worked hard to get you on. It's been one thing or another. Today was the first day I didn't post that anywhere that you were coming on, because every time I did, something happened. It was my sound system didn't work. You had too much going on up at the inn, or she had some stuff going on, and give yourself a free advertisement. Tell us about name of inn and where it's at, and how they can go there, and what time happy hour starts.
Happy hour starts anytime you're there, and I'm there. Hey, so we're 2 hours from the Mackinac Bridge, heading west on US 2. You take a left off US 2 to Lake Michigan, about 5 miles. The Nama Inn, Nahma, Nama Inn, and it's a quaint little lumber town, turn of the century. It's registered on the ghost town now. There's 25, all of us that live here year round, more in the summertime. But it's an old hotel, bar, restaurant. It used to be a hotel for the inn. You got 17 rooms. Our food is unbelievable, and the beer is cold.
My family used to be involved with in up near you, a little bit west of you.
Really?
Yeah, you'd have to just cross going into Wisconsin, just cross the line, and there was a place there called the Kings Gateway Hotel, and we had an inn and a hotel and a golf course, and
oh boy,
yeah. So I know the area up there very well, and I love it. It is God's country.
Down the Nama. It is. Once you tiptoe down the Nama, you won't forget it. So I got a piece here.
Yep. Hey,
staff and,
do we have any other questions online?
I do want to ask and give a quick second here. Please type any questions that you have in the live chat. I am keeping this updated. And any questions that don't get answered on live today, that get popped in there,
we can get it next week.
We can get it next week, or shoot us a message over on the Michigan Archaeologist Facebook page, and I am happy to answer that for you. But Charlie, once again, thank you so much for being on. Oh, it looks like we do have a question from Jared. How big do you think the original stone was? Would this have been something deeply etched? Wondering how copper could make the designs. Charlie, do you happen to have the stone in your hand there?
I got it right next to me here.
So Jared,
I know Rick's gonna holler at me. Rick's gonna holler at me because I don't have rubber gloves on.
Well, Jared, this is the stone. This is the entirety of the stone.
It wouldn't have taken much to etch it, even though it is a hard stone, because it is so small. The depth of that would have gone in, well, deeper than it is now, because we've lost a lot of it, but not that much deeper. Yep.
There's the line.
Yep. There's the side with Nath on it, and the crescent moon at the bottom. And Nathan, the crescent moon is up actually at the top of the stone. Okay, and then on the back side, the other side. Yeah, there's the center of that is the cartouche that we're talking about. And again, we put it up online, and I thank you for that very much. And I will be talking about this stone quite heavily when I go out east. It would have been it could have been another stone, anything sharp. I don't think back then the carving of something small like that, because you weren't using stone chisels or anything like that, and you weren't using flake stone. It would have just been very slow, meticulous scratching away at it.
They were after the big chunks of copper like that. A lot bigger than that.
Yeah,
This was all pure
I
copper,
need some of
very
that Michigan copper for my collection. Maybe
We
you
got
take
you
me
hooked
up.
up, buddy.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Hey,
Well,
my
thank
friend,
you.
you've become a very good friend in my life, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
And anytime you want to talk about anything, just want to come in, just want to, tell us what's going on in NEMA, feel free and let us know. We'll make room for you.
And to everyone on the live stream here today, I want to say thank you guys for joining us for our first live. We hope to start doing these more regularly scheduled and being able to give you more
Please
information.
subscribe. Please subscribe. My IT person, she tried to explain to me why that's important. Apparently it is. So please subscribe. Appreciate it.
Subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and you can also see our website from there for more pictures.
Yes.
And just information and updates about what we have going on, events that are going on for us, and hopefully maybe even somewhere in your area.
Yeah. Keep track of the events page, the blog page, and the vlog page, because we'll be putting up all of our vlogs and blogs. I write articles that are really boring, but I think they're interesting. But I finally seen Alyssa finally get some sleep after she read the first one. So
Well, Rick, the only other shameless plug that I'd like to make here is to your new book that's coming out next month.
no, it's actually on Amazon now. Available on Amazon. We don't have the audio version up yet because the audio. They called me up and they says, "Who do you want to do the voiceover on your book?" And I wanted the guy from Red, the movie. Oh, what's his name? It's kind of funny because I told him this is who I wanted to do the voiceover in my book, and as we both grab
Eric Cartman.
what?
Eric Cartman?
No,
Bruce Willis?
No.
I'll get it. There he is, Morgan Freeman. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I said I want Morgan Freeman to read my book. And they said, "You're not going to get Morgan Freeman." And I said, "Who else do you want?" I said, "I want somebody who sounds like Morgan Freeman." They said, "You're out of luck." But the guy who's reading it, the guy who's reading it's got a great voice. He's reading the book right now, and audio will be available soon. But the book, paperback, Kindle, and hardcover are all available on Amazon. Just go to RC Dietering. Went with RC Dietering because J.K. Rowling went famous just using J.K. and my letters RC are just a hell of a lot more fun to say. So I went with RC Dietering. And the name of the book is Trade Winds, and it's about a ship captain coming from Minoan, the island of Crete, and trying to find and save his people because trade is going low.
Now, Rick, I have to ask, is this going to be one of those boring books that, is a drag to get through like a textbook?
No, actually, I'm working on those right now. This one is what we call historical fiction. I hope you're not bored by it. Everyone who read it and read the transcript said that they really enjoyed it. And even people that don't like me said they enjoyed it. And so,
well, we can also, like he said, you can find it on Amazon, Kindle, hardcover, or paperback.
Yep,
and
and it'll be in
available.
bookstores. It'll be in bookstores, Barnes and Noble, a bunch of different bookstores in about a month.
And we will definitely keep everyone updated once that's available in bookstore near you.
Yeah. Thanks for that. All right. Hey, you got my promise, Charlie. We will be up to visit you. I was actually hoping that this would fail again tonight because Alyssa will tell you that I said if it fails again tonight, we're driving up there this weekend.
You can still come up.
Well, now I don't have a reason to because everything worked. But I'm hoping when I listen to it.
The beer's cold.
Oh, well, yeah, it is in my fridge.
All right,
No,
copper.
no, but
All right.
copper. Now we're talking. And no,
There you
I'm
go.
going to give you a week or two to get in contact with people in Newberry, but I will be up this summer to
Yep.
see you. Matter of fact, we're going to be up in September, speaking at the library in St. Ignace.
And I believe we are going up there on the
The lecture's on the
16th
16th.
so the
That's on
library
the
in St.
Newberry
Ignace.
tablet.
Yes,
And we'll be talking about your stone a little bit there as well.
absolutely.
But we will be up in St. Ignace, Michigan on the 16th at the public library. Anyone
Yeah, it's
coming
the
out, please come on
Mackinac
out.
Historical Society, Michigan Historical Society is sponsoring it. And we'll be talking about the Newberry tablet, the MacIntosh Stone, the idols. There are designs of Minoan ships carved on stone out in Copper Harbor. It's Michigan is a treasure trove of pre-Columbian travel. So we'll be up there talking about that on September 16th. That's the Tuesday right there.
Yes.
I think the lecture's at 7 o'clock. So it's in the evening. So bring your pillows. And, you know, if I bore you to death, just know Alyssa is cute. And so you have a reason to stay awake to talk to somebody. With that being said, which was totally inappropriate. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Rick. But with that being said, we're going to sign off here. I appreciate everyone for jumping on tonight. And we're glad to share a little bit of Michigan history with you. And hopefully we'll continue to be able to learn more together as we come across new discoveries and new finds, just like, you know, Charlie Stone here. But have a great night.
Have a great night. I'll let you shut that off because I don't know how to. Hey, Charlie, thanks a lot.
Great. Hey, that was really awesome. I appreciate